Welcome to the Delight Your Marriage podcast, the show where you hear from amazing and inspiring wives sharing their struggles, triumphs, and advice for this journey called marriage. Here's your host, Belah Rose.
Hi there and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is Belah Rose, and I want to just thank you for welcoming me and my guest into your ears today. If you're out shopping or on your way home from work, or maybe you're getting started with dinner, wherever you are, just thank you. And it's going to be a great show today. Before we get started, though, I have something exciting to tell you about. I have been working very hard on a series of videos that I'm going to be telling you about next week. And it's a gift for you from me, and I'm really proud of it. So I'm going to be letting you know the details next week, but just let you know, stay tuned. Okay, well, today I have Mrs. Laura Doyle, who is a best-selling author. She's a speaker. She's a coach. She's such a sweet woman, and you can tell she just has so much genuineness, I guess you would say, and I so appreciate that. But let's go ahead and dive into her interview, where we talk a lot about how to have a more pleasure-filled life. Okay, we'll talk on the other side. All right, well, welcome back, Delight Your Marriage listener. I am thrilled to have Miss Laura Doyle, who is joining us today. Hi, Laura. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm Mrs. Laura Doyle, but...
Excuse me. Yes, indeed. That would be appropriate, seeing as we're talking about your marriage, yes.
So to make sure I don't come off as a single woman.
Thank you for that. Yes, Mrs. Laura Doyle. Thank you. Oh, well, good. Well, can you please introduce yourself, a little bit about your family and your day-to-day life?
Sure, you bet. So I'm so fortunate. I'm a New York Times best-selling author of the book, The Surrendered Wife, which is published in 16 languages in 27 countries. And I've had the privilege of helping over 150,000 women all over the world really revitalize the intimacy and passion and peace in their marriage. And I'm the CEO of an international relationship coaching company. But the thing I'm most proud of in the whole world is that I'm a very happy wife of, it'll be 26 years next month.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow. So what does your day-to-day life look like?
Well, I'm running my company, and I work from home. My husband works from home too, so we have a pretty good life here, where there's a lot of playfulness in our relationship. So there's a lot of like little pranking that goes on, and for some reason, not sure why, but the Quaker Oat man from the box, he's involved. He shows up like in my wallet or in my suitcase if I travel. And I know I've been gotten when I get the Quaker Oat man. So I don't know why that story comes to mind, but there's just like a lot of lightness and silliness, which I'm so grateful for every day, because it wasn't always that way. You know, we went through several years of it being really dramatic, intense, and distant, and I was on the verge of divorce. Wow. So I think every day I'm just grateful for how much ease there is in my relationship, how much vibrancy, and that he, I'll tell you a quick story. We were at a breakfast cafe recently, and he goes, "Oh, don't move." And then he like grabs his phone to take my picture. I'm like so flattered, right? Like, for like 25 years, and he's still acting. Oh my God, he was like a supermodel. And then he takes a picture, and he hands me his phone. And I'm looking through his phone, and it's like, there's Laura in the kitchen, Laura in the backyard, Laura working on her laptop. It's all pictures of Laura. So it's just an unspeakable, there's just no words to describe how great it feels to have that kind of, to feel so loved every day.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's wonderful. Well, and what a little bit about you and your husband's personalities. What are they like?
Well, my husband's a really easygoing guy and very funny. And that was a big part of what I fell for. He just has a lot of humility. Like I remember on our first date, he was just totally committed to making me laugh, which he totally did in therapy, made himself look bad in the process as long as I was laughing and smiling. Like I remember he said, he goes, it's a good thing someone invented contact lenses, because he goes, otherwise I'd have to wear glasses and they would look like two Hubble telescopes welded together. So I'm grateful. And he's like, but on the upside, he goes, when your vision's like mine, he goes, you can just take out your contacts and you can see amazing things that no one else can see. Like, all right. So it made me laugh. And
yes.
I think that was a big part of what I fell for. And then I also really fell for the way he loved me. He was just so devoted. And so there was just a lot of thoughtfulness there. He was definitely that guy who gives you his jacket when you're cold, or he would just move all the furniture around just so I could see if I liked the sofa underneath the window or not. And then I'd be like, no, put it back, And he's like, okay. It's just like, really has a servant's heart.
Yes, it sounds like it. And I'm excited to get into your story more. So before we do, though, could you share a scripture or a verse or a quote that has meant a lot to you?
Yeah, my very favorite quote in the world is by Ambrose Redmoon, and it's that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision that something else is more important. And that, it became really critical for me to cling to that as I embarked on the spiritual journey of just trying to save my marriage. And there were so many times when I was called on to choose my faith instead of my fear. And I made a decision that it was more important to be respectful and to choose my marriage over indulging my fear. So that quote's become really precious to me.
Wow, I love that. And it's so funny. I was just writing about confidence and how that's exactly it. It's focusing on the purpose instead of focusing on the fear. So I just love that. Cool. Well, can you share then a little bit about the story, the season of struggle that was in your marriage?
Sure, absolutely. So we've been married, I don't know, like years, let's say 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8 probably. We're pretty bad. And I just really believed that I was more spiritual. I was smarter. I was a person working really hard on our relationship. He wasn't doing anything. I would sit him down on the couch and tell him everything that he needed to do differently. And it's just the conversation, I call it the State of the Union address. It just never went very well. I try to leave that to the president to do those. But, and the other thing that was going on that in retrospect, I really just had no idea how much harm this was doing, but I was trying to give him helpful suggestions. I call it helpful in wife language, which is husband language, right? So I would say I just had ideas about how he could like eat more healthy and things that he could do at work, or how he could be more tidy around the house and how he could dress better. And I didn't realize I was really shooting holes in the bucket of our intimacy and connection by trying to be so helpful. And the truth is, kind of going back to that quote that I love, I was being the armchair quarterback of his life. And you know what was happening, Belah, is my life was going by and I wasn't attending to it. I was missing my own life. And the minute I stopped being the armchair quarterback of his life, this whole thing emerged where I was called to write best-selling books and done in front of live audiences of hundreds of people. I'd never done that. Or I got to go on national TV and international TV, and it was all pretty terrifying. And I realized that controlling him, it felt less scary. And that's kind of why that was part of why I did it. But anyway, things were going really badly, and I just knew that if he would change, then I could finally be happy, because isn't that right?
Right.
So I made him go to marriage counseling, and just was waiting dutifully for her to fix him. And of course that didn't help. And we went for years, and it just really, it didn't fix anything. I did learn there that I was controlling. Like I have an issue with trying to control. And I was, as soon as I kind of had that awakening that was an issue for me, I was like, okay, what do I do? And the counselor was like, yeah, just stop being so controlling, just stop. And kind of funny, I was like, I just don't know what to do. And I later kind of got a glimpse of her marriage, and she was pretty controlling too. So I was like, oh, no wonder she couldn't tell me what to do. She had nice diplomas on the wall, but she didn't have, the transformation that I was seeking.
Wow. Yeah.
So I really just felt like we had to get divorced. I just had married the wrong guy. I couldn't figure it out. It's very lonely. Like I remember I remember him being more interested in watching TV than he was in my company for sure. And even in making love to me, like that just was gone. Felt really lonely. I was really, felt rejected and abandoned.
Well, and so when you said shooting holes in your intimacy, what is that? What do you mean by that?
Oh, I just think of like, it's like the bucket of our intimacy together. I was tearing it apart. I was the one that was, it's kind of funny. It's ironic. I felt so superior. I had this big superiority complex. Like I was one that had to do everything because I would do it right and he wouldn't do it. And by right, I mean my way, right? The right way. And I had no concept that I was the one that was making everything so hard and stressful. And it wasn't until I got a roll of metaphorical duct tape, let's say, over my mouth when I attempted to correct or criticize or even instruct. Even if I thought, I'm better at this than he is, I just stopped doing all that. And that was when the man who had wooed me really came back.
Wow.
I just remember there was one day, Belah, where I came through the door, I came home, and I remember his face lit up. Like he was like, hi. And that had been gone for a long time. And I was, wow, that's where I want to live. That's the kind of relationship I want to have.
Yes. Oh, I just love that. Wow. Well, so the wife that's finding herself in a marriage where she doesn't recognize the person anymore and all she can see is all of his flaws, this metaphorical duct tape, was that really the key? Like that was it?
Definitely a big one.
Wow.
Funny because, what I did was I decided it was more important to be respectful than it was to just say whatever came to mind. Like I had kind of confused honesty and criticism. And I thought I was just being honest when I told him like his shirt didn't match, his jacket or something.
Right.
I'm like, I'm just saying the hard truth, things that need to be said. I'm the big one here. Now I recognize the difference between honesty and criticism is honesty is about me. It's not about him. Criticism is criticism and complaining. There's that quote from Dale Carnegie, any fool can complain and most do. And that was really kind of my situation. I just had a really big complaining habit and criticism habit. And what was funny about it, too, is I would complain about something and I would think that I had communicated what I wanted out of it. Like I'd say, this place is a mess. And I thought he would hear that as like, would you help me clean up the kitchen? But he didn't. And my husband can't even hear me when I'm complaining. If I can let him know what I'm wanting, if I say, gosh, I would love it if the kitchen was clean, then he's like, oh, okay, I'll unload the dishwasher and load it back up. And if I just complain, he just totally can't hear me. So it was really frustrating for me because I felt that I was telling him everything that I wanted and he was ignoring it and didn't care about me or my happiness. And unfortunately, I just it's really sad. Like I'll tell you, we went to Hawaii right even before we were married. Actually, he took me on this romantic trip to Hawaii. And I remember getting up and being like, oh boy, we're gonna go to the beach today. And my first thing out of my mouth was like, hey, what do you want to do today? And he goes, well, I think it'd be fun to go see a volcano. I was like, volcano, huh? Okay. And then I wanted to be close. I wanted to be connected. So I thought, well, I'm not going to say that I wanted to go to the beach because I could cause a conflict, and then there's like a winner and a loser, and I just don't want that. Like, it just felt like it was going to be distancing. And so I just didn't say anything, and we got in the rental car and just started driving around. And you can't actually see a volcano at first. You just are driving on this road with just a bunch of rocks next to you. It's kind of a hot day, and I think the rental car didn't have air conditioning or something, so we're just driving around in the heat. And I start to fume. I'm like, gosh, he didn't even ask me what I wanted to do, and we could be at the beach right now, and this is a big waste of time. And he kind of catches on something is wrong, and he turns to me and says, like, is something the matter? And I'm like, did you think this would be fun? Because this is so not fun. I wasn't even ask me what I wanted to do. And it was an 80 big perm. I'm a volcano, all right. I totally lost. I mean, the way I'm saying it is probably not even as angry and rude and obnoxious as I sounded that day. My face was all red and my hair was all sticking up, and I just looked like some kind of, like I was some sort of weird monster in the car with him. And he's like, where did I go wrong? I took my fiance to Hawaii. Like, where was my mistake? And I just feel sad for that previous version of myself that just had no concept of being able to just express her desires purely. And he was like, oh, if I'd known you wanted to go to the beach, he was like, were you going to wear your bikini? And I was like, yes, and so went to the beach after that, because he still is like all about trying to make me happy.
Yeah.
It was sad, and it was terrifying, because I remember having this horrible emotional hangover, like, do you still like me? I'm really sorry, and I just knew if I continued to act like that, I was going to push him away, and I really had no idea how to not act like that. So it's been such a gift and such a relief that through learning the skills that I needed to have a good marriage, that angry woman, and she's gone. I don't know where she lives now, but she doesn't live here, and sister, and but it's really tragic when I think back on what a waste that I just didn't really know. I didn't have the skills to advocate for myself.
Yeah, I love that. I feel the same way. I had in my previous marriage, I was in a similar kind of just. Yeah, the criticism was such a pattern, such a culture in our relationship, and I love that you said any fool can complain, and most do.
Yeah.
It's good. It's so true. But actually needing the skills, or now having developed the skills, and so that was kind of the journey that brought you to the books that you've written.
Yeah. There's that saying, if you can't be, Catherine Aird said it, I guess, if you can't be a good example, you'll just have to be a horrible warning. And so just like all these horrible things that I did. And what was really fun, I just remember we self-published my book, The Surrendered Wife, originally, because I said to my husband, I think there might be like 2,000 women that can identify with me, and they have this same issue, and they'll want to read this book. And, 150,000 copies later, and, or whatever it is. I mean, it's more than that. Actually, it's way more than that now, but that was like sold out of the gate 15 years ago. And women would write and say, where was the tape recorder? It seems like you had a tape recorder in my kitchen or my dining room or something. So I wasn't the only one. It was really comforting and kind of exciting to see that something I felt like it was this horrible secret that I had to keep, right? Because we would maybe like have a big fight on the way to the party, be late to the party because we had to pull over and fight, and then we'd sit there and be like, hey, everything's great. It was like a double life that I was living, and it was just this. I felt so much shame about the conversations that were going on, and I felt a loss of dignity about my tone of voice and the things that were coming out of my mouth, and even I didn't want to be around me.
Yeah, that's awesome. In terms of just how you had to live in order to be an example, in order to teach others. And, that it was very freeing, and it was a huge growth spurt for me to just admit these are the things I say to my husband. I said to him, like, he'd say, oh, I want to get a Christmas present for Pat. And I'd be like, really? Did he get you a present last year? It's just like, so controlling and so overbearing. Yes.
proud of it, but it was there was freedom and healing in just admitting that I was treating my husband that way.
Yes, in admitting that you're treating. Yep. That's so true. And so I wanted to ask you, we do talk a lot about intimacy on the podcast. I wanted to ask you, when you were saying, that he would rather watch TV than even make love. I mean, what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. I think that was that was when we were deep in marriage counseling, and it was totally not working, and I was just really feeling heartbroken. It was so painful, and I think that's kind of why I felt like divorce was the only option. Like I couldn't see my way, and it really, the only way I could reason it out in my head was there's something wrong with him. That's why I kept going with it, and it was I was like shocked and horrified and relieved all at the same time to learn, no, I'm the keeper of the relationship. I've got all the power here. And that when I made the changes, when I discovered the intimacy skills and started implementing them, the sparks were hotter than ever. He was making better minds of me again. And I felt more attractive, and I was more attractive, and I stopped acting like his mother. I think that was kind of a big part of the dynamic, is I was like his mom, and he was the little boy, and women aren't attracted to their sons, and sons aren't, men aren't attracted to their mothers. So that was kind of an intimacy killer right there. But now I just feel that's like such an area of strength for us. I mean, I memorized a complicated series of instructions on how to make me orgasm every time. It's just like, we've mastered the art of the quickie. That's actually awesome. So there's, and I think there's nothing like having the safety of a long marriage to really explore each other's bodies and be tuned in to that. So you both really do feel successful because you get a lot of practice and a lot of satisfaction on many levels. It's such an opportunity to connect physically, but emotionally and spiritually as well. Yes.
I love that you said it. You've got the safety of a long marriage to explore and to really understand each other's intimacy, and so that's really great. Yeah, I love that. I love what you shared. Now, would you be willing to give any insights into how to make a quickie awesome?
Sure, I would. First,
yay!
It took a long time.
Okay.
I mean, seriously, I do think I'm big on the importance of first of all, frequency, right? So I mean, I get to, in my position as a relationship coach for all these years, for 16 years now, I get to hear the insides of what goes on in a lot of marriages, and sometimes, it's like, well, we haven't had sex since the baby, and how old is the baby? The baby's 3, So first of all, I think one big tip for me is just the idea of making myself available to my husband at least once a week is kind of my rule of thumb, but for me now, it didn't start out this way, but for me now, like, I want to just be available whenever he's initiating. So that's my policy. He knows that. So he knows he's never, he's not going to get rejected in general. And so that's a pretty cool thing, because I know I don't always start out in the mood, but that doesn't mean I won't end up there. So that's a big part of it, was really just being willing to take that opportunity when it came along. I see it as my opportunity to feel beautiful, to feel sexy, to feel desired, and to feel pleasure. And that's my husband. So that's one part. It does, like, the more frequently you do it, the better you get at. But the other thing that I'm really big on is my own pleasure during sex. Like, that is paramount. And we have the only organ on the human body that's designed solely for us to feel pleasure. the clitoris. So I take that as a metaphor that our pleasure is pretty important, not just in sex, but I take it as a metaphor for the rest of our lives as well. But in the bedroom, I mean, expressing my desires, back to that again, right? Like what I want. Like I want a back rub to get me in the mood, or I want to take a bath, or I want some music, or whatever it is that's gonna, and that's not necessarily for the quickies, but being clear on what I want, my desires are. The care of Laura in the bedroom has really helped us get to where there's reliable orgasms all around, and that so I can get there fast, and that can be really fun.
No, that's awesome. I love that. I love that thinking about sex for females to think about it as this is an opportunity for pleasure.
That's right.
And
it may be you're thinking, and a lot of times we are. It almost never seems to be that we as women are like when he's coming on to us going, oh yeah, now would be great. We're always like, like the dish, the kids, like right, or
that's
like,
right.
Oh, right. We're never in the same.
That's true.
But I love I might be afraid there's other things going on or whatever. And if I can just put that aside, it really doesn't take that long. One of my friends was joking about, he's like, I'll say to my wife, just give me 5 minutes. And I'm like, that might be part of the problem right there. Like it's not pretty quick. But so it's an opportunity I don't want to miss now. I heard this story on the news that I loved about this woman who decided, she made a decision she was going to have sex with her husband every day for a year. She was being interviewed on the news after she'd done that, and she's like, wow, I really had to get over my own impression of when I was sexy and when I wasn't. She's like, I'd be thinking, wow, I haven't showered. There's no way. But I look at him and he's like, yeah, baby. So she goes, I just had to give myself permission to adopt his point of view about how sexy I was.
Yes.
She said it was such a gift to do that. Give
myself permission to adopt his point of view.
Yeah, if you think you're hot, why would you argue with that?
It's true. Yep. I love it. And because I think it also, even in every other area of life, it comes into the bedroom too. But if we're not feeling confident in our body, we bring that kind of into the bedroom and we feel not as good. But giving ourselves permission to adopt his point of view, I love that.
Yeah. And it really does come back a little bit to, I call it replenishing your spirit with self-care. And I don't mean 8 hours of sleep or 30 minutes of cardio or 5 fruits and vegetables. What I mean is that you make yourself happy 3 times a day. And by doing that really does free up, because naturally it takes a little bit of energy to have a great relationship, like anything else that's worthwhile in life. And if you are depleted, you give yourself very little chance of having a great relationship. So I think, especially for women, going back to the metaphor of us having the only organ designed for pleasure, we do better when we make it our priority to have frivolous fun every day.
That's awesome. We do better when we make it our priority to have frivolous fun every day.
Yeah.
That's so good.
So for me, I'm super practical. Like when people say, stop being controlling, I'm like, well, I don't know. So for me, like making my pleasure a priority, I implemented the structure of I would do 3 things a day just to make me feel good and for no other purpose, not to reduce greenhouse gas emissions or, for recycling or to, avoid osteoporosis or anything else. It's just the way a child is attracted to a ball or a swing. That's the kind of pleasure that I look for.
That's so good. And then this translates into the bedroom, right?
It totally does, because
go ahead.
I think it can come, since we're usually in the same mode or in the same mood as our husbands when they approach us. Yeah. If you've got those energy reserves, if you're still smiling because you got out your paints and your easel, or you spent an hour connecting with a friend over a cup of coffee, or simple things, right, that can really fill you up and make all the difference. Like you read your favorite blog, you snuck away and read your favorite blog for a while, or played games on your phone, or I love to play volleyball, so it's a big one for me. But if he's approaching you when you're happy and filled up, you're just gonna have so much more resourcefulness within yourself to say like, yeah, what the heck, why not? Let's get naked. Let's do it.
That's true. That's so true. I love that, because you're in this zone already of feeling enjoyable and having, having.
I call it the goddess of fun and light. That's who we all are inherently, and that's who our husbands fell in love with, and that's what makes it so attractive to them, is when we are in that mode. So the goddess of fun and light is saying, "Are you kidding? I can't make love with you right now. There's dishes in the sink," right? Like she's like, all right, we'll do those later. Yeah.
Ooh, that's really good stuff. Laura, this is awesome. Wow, wasn't that awesome? I just love Laura and all of her insights. And you can tell she just has an amazing marriage that you just kind of want to emulate yours after. Isn't it true? Well, anyway, definitely come back and listen to the next half of this interview. That'll be posting on Thursday, so come back for that. Okay, God bless you. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope that you have a wonderful, pleasure-filled day today. Okay, God bless you. Bye.
Thanks for joining. If you've been inspired by this show, would you help spread the word? If you take a moment to review and subscribe, others can find us more easily. Find out how at delightyourmarriage.com/iTunes. Until next time, live with love, wisdom, and passion.